Green going long. Green throwing the ball. He's got Bowens out there. Bowens scores! 31 yards on a straight fly pattern to Billy Bowens.
Well, the Boise State football team resumed their winning ways with a dominant road win in Reno over the weekend. Quarterback Taylen Green was terrific through the air, while George Holani torched Nevada on the ground.
Green in front of Holani, and he'll hand the ball straight up the middle. Missed tackles by Nevada. Holani gets to the right side to the 40, to the 30, to the 20, cuts back towards the middle, to the 10, to the 5. He's into the end zone. What a run for George Holani, 49 yards.
Defensively, the Broncos refound their dominance, allowing just a season-low 3 points to the Wolfpack.
Illingworth back to pass. Illingworth is going to be sacked for the first time tonight. Devin Wright from the backside, DJ Schramm from the left side, Scott Matlock from the front side, and Boise State gets their first sack.
Welcome once again into Jay Sports Bar. I'm your host, Jay Tust, alongside Shane Williams-Rhodes, a former Boise State great. What did you make of Nevada's, of the game at Nevada? Were you happy you weren't there at the very least, too?
Definitely happy I wasn't there. I hate the snow. I expected Nevada to put up a little bit more of a fight, but our defense got back to its form, and, you know, with it being a rivalry game, I expected a little bit more, but we looked like we were exactly who we've been the last 6 games. Played stout on defense, and we ran the ball well.
I got to say, I'm a little disappointed in you, though, Shane. Remember that hat you wore, your winter hat? What's that thing even called?
We're actually getting to the point right now where the weather, that hat's coming out here in the next week or so.
I was just a little disappointed. I didn't see any Broncos rocking like a rare,
it'll be
a rare like winter cap that
you're
just
gonna
looks
see
way
some
too
rare
aggressive.
towels and some rare hoodies coming soon for sure.
It was a heck of an experience. We were down on the field before the game. It just starts hammering the field with snow. It was like that Wyoming game a few years ago. Heck, even maybe in the 14 Wyoming game, where it kind of starts to snow and it is lightly, and then all of a sudden you look down, the whole field's covered with it.
Yep. I remember in that game, we got, it was about 2 minutes left in the game, and the coaches said, if you guys want to leave here tonight and not get snowed in, then we cannot take showers after the game. We got to go straight to the plane, from the field to the locker room to the plane. No showers, get straight on the plane, we're leaving. Otherwise, we will not make it out. So we had to get directly on the plane. There was no showers after the game. It was a wild situation.
Sounds like a rather pungent, pungent trip home from Laramie. I guess that was the good vibes there, though, is that you guys basically knew you were going to go to the Mountain West Conference Championship game and have a shot at playing in a New Year's Six bowl game, which wound up being the Fiesta Bowl season. You look at this Nevada game, and we got a lot to talk about. Taylon Green makes his media debut. It's really been a tale of two offenses, as you were just kind of alluding to, ever since September 30th, when there was a change at both quarterback and at the offensive coordinator spot. We're going to look at that. Eric McAlister's impact on this offense, because a lot of people probably didn't know who he was prior to a couple games ago. After that, Boise State's dominant defense against light competition, and George Holani has a massive decision to make after this season: come back to college or stay in the NFL. My intention there isn't to spark any type of controversy. It's supposed to be a compliment, because he's just been dynamite for this team so far this season. As it pertains to this Reno game, though, 41-3, Boise State good on both sides of the ball. A pretty complete game effort. It felt like, the Colorado State game was a little more complete in all 3 phases, but Boise State goes on the road, they get the job done, and now they were already in the driver's seat to represent the Mountain Division in the Mountain West Conference Championship game. They beat Wyoming this week. It's a lock for them. So Boise State taking care of business, doing what they needed to do. And I want to start today by talking about Taylon Green once again, because I know that's one of your favorite guys to talk about. I was worried, I'm not going to lie. I mean, how many times do you guys play in the snow in Texas?
Never.
Never.
Not where I'm from. No snow.
And so you can tell me, you can make up and tell me, it doesn't matter. We've practiced in the morning on the blue. I'm sorry, that was not a morning practice on the blue type of conditions Saturday in Reno.
Agreed. It's so different compared to where we are in Texas. I mean, this week in Texas, you have the second round playoffs, and in Texas, you have to win 5 playoff games before you go to state.
Wow.
In Idaho, we're playing the state championship game on Friday and
Yeah.
Saturday. So it's a big difference, you know. The seasons, we're not used to having the snow on the ground this early or at all. So it's a big, you know, big difference. So it was interesting to see how well you played.
Yeah, just like every other circumstance that's been thrown at him so far this season, though, he navigated the conditions and everything else flawlessly.
Yep.
I think the interesting thing about this game was how aggressive they were throwing downfield. I mean, Taylen was 8 of 18 for 190 yards on attempts 10 or more yards downfield. And I know you might say 8 of 18, not the greatest completion percentage there, but I mean, given the conditions, the wind, the snow, like I think you're taking that. He only threw 3 passes within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. I have no idea the last time there's been that significant of a ratio amongst passes 10 yards downfield or more and within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's crazy to me.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of his passes were past 10 yards, so that means we probably had a lot of explosive plays to the pass game, which obviously alluded to a lot of points that we scored. So it's kind of a trade-off. You know, you throw a lot of screens and a lot of quick game, or, you know, you lesser completion percentage, but you hit some of those deep balls, which we were definitely getting some of those in. So it was good to see.
I just found it super interesting, though, because of the weather. Like, in my mind, I think you just think, like, hey, like, more stuff behind the line of scrimmage, even, like short passes, and that was just – that was like non-existent. They didn't run a single screen, nothing against Nevada.
I think Nevada's game plan was to come out and do exactly what you said. You know, defend the quick game and stop the run. And so Boise State countered with that. And it's just, you know, obviously it's not a strength throwing the ball that deep down the field, but they played to what was given. You know, they played the game within the game. You know, we've been doing quick game and run game and running real heavy. Well, they came out throwing the ball. So you were getting one high safety. And so you had chances for your guys just to go make plays. And so that's what we talked about a few weeks ago with all the success in the run game, that guys will start coming closer and wheeling them in, and then that'll make it easier for Taylen to throw the ball. Well, now we're starting to see some of that. So now next week coming into the game, Wyoming's going to say, well, we can't just let them just throw it deep. We got to kind of play the game where maybe on first down we're going to bring a little bit of pressure, but on second we'll play a little softer on the back end. So it's good to see that when we didn't play as far as, you know, to what our identity typically is, we were still able to be successful.
And I guess you brought this up just a second ago, and kind of my point of it. I think that the players need credit for execution, but the coaches need credit for being one step ahead of it, right? Like in a game like that, typically you think you do come out and you might have more of a I don't even know if we say it a quick game, but a quick game or a short game. But Boise State had a game plan that was the exact opposite of that. But either way, earlier this week, I wanted to get Andy Avalos' take on why they were able to do that, and this is what he had to say.
Each and every week is different, right, Jay? I mean, it just depends on what is the structure we're getting from the defense, what are the things, what is their plan. You know, as much as we want this, and this to happen, the reality of it is, I mean, you're playing against another team, and you've got to be able to see what their plan is, and within our plan, be able to attack. And sometimes it's going to call for more run plays. Sometimes it's going to call for more pass plays. And what pass plays we're talking about? Are they on the perimeter? Are they down the sideline? Are they over the middle of the field? That's, you know, those are the things that obviously you study throughout the course of the week and you put a plan together. But as we all know, you know, our opponents have the opportunity throughout the course of the week too to adjust and put something together to switch up some of the things that they've done.
Coach Avalos saying every game is different. And they were able to kind of stay one step ahead, and I just don't think Nevada was prepared for what the Broncos threw at them on offense.
I think it was a combination of the game plan while also the scouting. You could tell Nevada's corners weren't as good as some of the corners that we've seen.
Yeah.
So we probably came out thinking, well, the corners aren't as good. They're probably going to run heavy, so let's go out and throw it. And you saw we hit it early, and then eventually it took a little bit. Then Holani started breaking some runs, and the first quarter wasn't as successful as the second and third, but he started to kind of get loose because those guys kind of had to start backing off because we kept going over top. So it was really good to see it all come together.
And I want to get to George here in a second, but I also want to get your take on something else, and that is the significance of reducing the amount of negative plays in a game. And I think that this is something that when there's a bunch of negative plays happening in an offense, it's easy to identify and say, hey, this is the problem. But when they stop happening, sometimes we fail to identify it, right? And when you look at, like, since Taylen has taken over, Do you know, and I'm asking you this hoping you don't know the answer because I'm curious just what your general thoughts would be. Since Taylen has taken over, do you know how many times he's been sacked?
He started 6
games.
Yep. I'd say in his 6 starts, he's been sacked less than 4.
In his 6 starts, he's been sacked 3 times.
There you go.
This entire season, he has been sacked 4 times in 171 dropbacks. He's getting sacked once every 42 to 45 dropbacks, somewhere in that range, whether that be the entirety of the season or since he's taken over as a starter. That's where your range is, 42 to 45. And previously, you know, when Hank was the quarterback there, and I'm not just bashing him, but like whether it be the offensive line, the play calling, whatever played into this, it was once every 15 or so, 15 to 18 dropbacks that they were getting sacked. I mean, that is a massive swing. Sacks are drive killers. And as we're going to find out later, I think that a guy like George Holani's benefiting from it greatly because all of a sudden now you're in all these like more run favorable situations instead of trying to, you know, just drop bombs out of, you know, 2nd and 13 or 3rd and 8 or whatever it is because he got sacked at some point in time in that series.
I mean, we've talked about it a ton, and this was always my thing with, you know, back in October of 2021 when I said let's throw Taylen in there.
Yep.
His athleticism adds, you know, another dynamic to the game where we were taking a lot of sacks between October of 2021 and September of 2022.
It is what it is.
We took a lot of sacks.
It's not even a matter of opinion there, Shane. Like, if you go look up at the numbers, whoever you want to criticize, whatever you want to say, whatever conclusion you want to come up with, the numbers say that they were getting sacked at a rate about 3 times what they're getting sacked at now.
And I think this is the biggest thing where I don't think people actually see it. So you talked about negative plays. So Taylen, did you say he went 8 for 18?
8 for 18 on throws. He was 11 of 22 overall in the game.
Out of 11 of 22. So, and if you look back at the game, you know, guys, I watched the game 2 or 3 times. But when Taylen scrambles, there was, I want to say 4 or 5. I want to say it was 5. So out of those 10 incomplete passes he had, or I think, yeah, 10 incomplete passes, 5 of them, he was throwing the ball away.
Yeah.
He was rolling out of the pocket. He didn't like what he saw. He didn't force anything. He just threw it away. So it wasn't necessarily that he was not, you know, putting the ball in the right place. He was playing smart.
Yeah.
So instead of taking sacks and having negative plays, we're throwing the ball away. Yes, that hurts his completion percentage, but now we're at 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 5 after getting that gain on 1st or wherever it was. So it changes the game when you're not at 2nd and 17, you're behind the chains. So I think that's playing a huge role. I think he's being smart with it when he's scrambling. I haven't seen him yet, you know, move out of the pocket and try to do too much, but for the most part, it's been pretty good.
Well, we also had our first chance to catch up with Taylen since he's taken over as the starting quarterback of the Boise State football team. This happened in Reno right around midnight. It was cold, but of course we weren't going to miss our opportunity to catch up with Taylen for the very first time.
Taylen, how much have you enjoyed the last month and over the last 5 weeks or so? What have you learned that it takes to be a successful quarterback at Boise State?
Yes, sir. I love the opportunity that the coaches gave me and just the opportunity. And I'm just blessed, and the team just opened me with open arms. And I just learned that each day you just got to take it play by play and just game by game. And each day you just have to go 100% and just even since San Diego State, just learn every single play what to do and what not to do. It's been crazy. I mean, but it's been really fun. I mean, it's football, it's a game, and I've been playing this my whole life, and it's just gotta love it. I mean, that's why I came here to win a Mountain West championship. But it's not because of me. It's because of our team, and just the coaches just making everything just simple and just communication, and that's what I love. And of course, I got to give the credit to the line, Kate Connie, OJ. They're really making things easy for me and just communication at the line. That's what we're doing.
Shane, I played college baseball down in Texas for a year, and one thing I immediately noticed is that everything down there is basically yes sir, no sir. And Taylen's first 2 words out of his mouth, yes sir. I found that. I don't know if I had a flashback to my time in Texas. You can identify with that. But I'm excited to get to know this guy a little bit better because if his interviews go anything like his play on the field, he's going to be fun. He's going to be engaging and confident. And that's more than anything I'm seeing right now out of this guy when he plays football is like when he gets the ball in his hands, it's no like you go back to San Diego State. And I don't think he was like thinking like, how do I not screw this up? But I think that his thought process was like, okay, let's make sure we do the right thing. But now all of a sudden he's kind of going into almost like this little bit of a kill mode. Like he's definitely gaining confidence. And the next few games up to 4 are going to be exciting. But oh man, give this kid an off season and bring back some of these receivers. Like this could be the beginning of something pretty cool.
Like you said, it's the confidence and the repetition. If I do something over 100 times, every 100 I'm going to get better and better.
Yeah.
He's starting to see things, and Cutter's doing a great job of keeping it simple and running the same plays. You know, they're working. So Taylon's seeing the same things over and over and over. And so now he knows, okay, well, I have a little bit more time. You know, if this route came open later, so maybe if I can, you know, hold on to the ball a little bit longer and, you know, extend the play, that guy's going to come open. Like, just seeing things like that. You can see it every week. It's getting better. I think even his deep ball, they're getting better. I mean, when I got tons of text messages his first start. This kid can't throw. He's got to work on it and all this. But as you can see, football is a game of X's and O's. And when you can run the ball, it's easier to throw the ball. And you're starting to see that. And the repetitions, you can see him kind of moving in the right direction.
In terms of his ability on the field, I remember everybody trying to say, like, Colin Kaepernick. Oh, but he can't throw. Like, he doesn't throw like Cap did. I remember thinking, I'm like, okay, as a freshman in college, Colin Kaepernick only completed about 52% of his passes. And so now I'm almost of the mind like, man, I don't know if Colin could throw like Taylen could, because Taylen's up over 60%. Yep. He's proven that he can throw the deep ball. He's got that long, lanky athleticism and can beat you on the edges. He runs like when it's necessary, never when it's like a bad decision. And the thing for me is, like, I know you want to see him run and take advantage of his legs, but I don't want him to do it if it's going to put him in harm's way or if it forces something. And I feel like he never forces something when it comes to pulling the ball and running. And you look at the Nevada game. He ran the ball twice. Once was around the left side. He picked up a first down. The second time he pulled it, got out the back door to the right side and ran for a touchdown because nobody wanted to contain him. And then guess what? Yep. Nevada didn't make that mistake again the rest of the game, right?
Yep. So I think you're leaning exactly what the fans I see on Twitter all the time. They're like, why are we not running the ball more with Taylen? But it's interesting to see this.
No, I want to say chill out on that take. I'm saying chill out.
It's interesting to see it because you had Hank, who was really aggressive when it came to, you know, not sliding, not going down, kind of hanging in the pocket, and he wasn't as athletic. Then you have the guy who's probably the most athletic guy on the team as far as size and speed, and he is as cautious as they are when it comes to running. Like, he won't run unless he has to. And I think as a quarterback in college, typically you see the opposite. When you're that athletic, you just take off.
Right.
And he's being really smart. And I got to credit Cutter for this because I think he has something to do with it. Just keeping it simple for him, letting him know if you don't like it, it's okay to throw the ball away. You know, if you're in doubt, give it. You have great backs.
Yep.
So those are some of the things he can lean on right now. And so those guys around him are making it a lot easier for him.
Yeah. Well, as far as what Dirk said this week about Taylen, when we were talking with him, Dirk said that Taylen has progressed at a really incredible rate, and it's actually even exceeded Dirk's expectations. And Dirk's like, I have high expectations. So that right there goes to show you how well Taylen has played and continues to progress and develop.
Think they're high enough to get Dirk to come back?
Dirk? No, yeah. He continues to make it well known. He is not coming back next year to coach. I wonder if there's some number out there that at least makes him go, huh. I just don't think there is. This has been a tale of two offenses, though, and I just wanted to break this down so that we could get numbers here. Prior to September 30th, this is when the first game after the change. Prior to September 30th, this Boise State offense was averaging 22 points per game. They were averaging 283 yards of offense per game. I mean, you almost had that yourself in some games in college. And they were averaging 4.5 yards per play per game. Since then, they're averaging 35.3 points per game, so almost 2 more touchdowns per game. They're averaging 433 yards of offense per game, and they're averaging 6.4 yards per play per game. That is a massive midseason swing, and you can't deny that what they did was a necessary move for this team and this program. And I know that Andy Avalos at the time said, hey, this is difficult, but I feel like I'm doing what's in the best interest of this Boise State football program. And the numbers say right there that the head honcho over at Boise State made a tough call, but a necessary call to save, again, maybe not this team this season, but the tradition and history of Boise State football. I mean, they love to talk about how they haven't had a losing season in over 2 decades, you know?
Yeah, it was at risk for sure.
And it was at risk, but because of this decision, it's not at risk anymore.
It's just tough, the way everything happened, you know? I mean, we let go of an offensive coordinator, but we didn't let go of our quarterback. He decided to leave. If he stays, does that drastic change that you just said, does that happen? I don't know if it does.
I agree. I don't know if it does, but I want to say this. At that point in time in the season, Andy was very adamant, and this is when Hank was still a part of the team. He said that they have the guys. They have to do a better job of getting the guys in better positions. And if we talked about the wide receivers on September 29th, before this turnover, we would have said, man, group's kind of been disappointing. They lack some explosiveness. I mean, you know, this Latrell Caples guy, he seems like he's all right. But you didn't feel like super confident about that group. And now we fast forward 6 weeks and you're like, man, Steph Cobbs is coming back. That'll help this offense. You're like, man, Latrell Caples looks like the real deal. Billy Bones making some big plays downfield. Yep. Who's this Eric McAlister guy? Like, where's he been?
It's a freshman.
And so now all of a sudden you're like, this group looks pretty good. And so I just go back to when Andy was saying that, and I kind of asked coach speak, I don't know. But 6 weeks, man, it's made a big time difference in the outlook of that receiver room. So maybe if there was a guy that stayed and didn't decide to leave, maybe he could have found like this type of success. Yeah. I don't know. I will say this though, if we want to talk about receivers, that is a room that like I feel really good about right now, and the future of that room.
Yeah, they all come. You get all of them back. You know, everybody can see what Taylen is kind of turning into. I know this offseason, obviously Taylen's biggest development side of things will be the pass game.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to just focus on that because, I mean, you can't coach speed, and that guy has that.
Well, and tell me this, Shane. I think this is a reason why it will be so beneficial to have an offseason with these guys. Taylen is really good at extending plays. So when you go off script, like how important is that connection between a quarterback and a wide receiver?
It's huge. You have some teams actually in the NFL who most of their passing yards and stuff come from scramble drill.
Yeah,
Let's look at the old Kansas City Chiefs.
Right, like Tyreek Hill. Yep.
A lot of their plays and stuff that they do, they aren't designed stuff. Like, yeah, they have the trick plays and the stuff, the quick game. But if it's not quick game and Patrick Mahomes not getting the ball out in 2 seconds, it's him extending the play and those guys work in scramble drill. You can tell those guys practice on scramble drill every day at practice, finding space, getting open because they know obviously they have someone who can put it anywhere. Yep. But whether it's moving with the quarterback or staying in a zone, those guys are being really good at that. And I know that's going to be a focus for this team next year, telling them like, hey, if you run your route and then now it's over, the play's not over. Keep moving, finding space because this guy can move out of the pocket and we obviously know he can launch the ball.
Yeah, and I think with Taylen we've seen too, he can either get out and go to his throwing side, or he loves to do this like little jab step, spin out to the left side and throw across his body. So that's an area where they can certainly grow and develop. I brought up Eric McAlister because, again, this is a guy that even some of the most intense Boise State football fans for the last couple of weeks have probably been grabbing their rosters and be like, who is 80? This guy's awesome. Why haven't we been throwing him the ball? You look at his effectiveness on these 50-50 balls. Well, he's batting above 500 on them right now. On throws of 20 or more yards downfield, Eric McAlister has a team-high 4 catches. He's only been targeted 7 times on throws 20 or more yards downfield. And you want to look at who's second on that list. Both Billy Bowens and Steph Cobbs are second on that list. Each have 3 catches of 20 or more yards downfield. Each of those guys have 14 targets on 20 or more yards downfield. So you look at the efficiency of Eric McAlister, this is something this offense is sorely needed.
Yep, it's the deep threat that we've been looking for. You know, Austin Bolt was your deep threat coming to the year. He broke his leg on the first game of the season. So now we kind of realized that we don't have anyone to stretch the field, and then we had another young guy step up, I want to believe 83. he kind of
Yes.
tried to take on that role.
Cole Wright had a big catch at New Mexico.
Yep.
He's been kickoff return. He's on kickoff returns. He's been a little banged up. I know he didn't play last week. But yeah,
He's trying to step into that
Yep.
role, and then now you have a freshman who is doing more than what he's expected out of him for sure.
And I think that, as Dirk Cutter told us this week, it's just a matter of Eric finding his consistency. He's only a redshirt freshman. When we talk about the pieces of this offense, Ashton Genty, true freshman. Eric McAlister, redshirt freshman. Taylen Green, redshirt freshman. I mean, there are some exciting pieces of this offense, and we're going to see how it goes from here. But gosh, the ceiling is sky high. I want to jump over to defense before we go back to offense and talk about George Holani, because that's just going to be a little bit of a different conversation with George Holani. When it comes to this Boise State defense, I feel like they're pretty predictable. When they play a tough team, it's going to require a lot from them to have a good night. But when they play a team that they're supposed to go out and beat, that said team is going to have a tough time moving the ball or scoring at all against this Boise State defense. Nevada only had 3 points in that entire game, a season low allowed by Boise State this season. And I got to say, I feel bad for that Bronco defense because it probably should have been a shutout. There was a series of plays near the end of the first half where Boise State was down, about to score a touchdown. They end up kicking a field goal, or trying to. Botch snap. Nevada gets the ball back. They drive down. They kick a field goal just before halftime. That's what it took for Nevada to get on the scoreboard against Boise State. So, again, against a light competition, this Boise State defense has been downright dominant. I don't think anybody can argue that.
Totally agree. It's why it's exactly just like I know we didn't get to talk about it much last week, but you get the BYU game where you have an opponent who is always going to be tough.
Yep.
We had to respond. It took a lot of big plays to obviously to beat us, but that I feel like the defense didn't play bad. I just feel like some of those teams we've been playing have not been that athletic.
Right. And I'm glad you brought this up because we were off last week, and we won't spend a ton of time on BYU, but I feel like it's worth discussing for a couple of reasons. Puka Nacua in that game was unbelievable. I mean, you look at the touchdown catch he made at the end of the game. I don't know if there's anything Caleb Biggers could have done to prevent that catch from happening. That was just it is like hitting a Randy Johnson slider 450 feet. You don't say, hey, Randy, what happened to your slider? You look at the batter and you say, man, good job, dude. Like, that's not supposed to happen. And on that specific play, the way that it played out, he's got no room on the sideline, and somehow he still is able to, torque his body and still make a grab. I mean, that's just one where it's a hell of a play.
Yeah, it's just sometimes they don't fall the right way.
Right.
I think moving forward, though, I think when we play against a team who's really good, whether it be bowl game or Mountain West championship game, I think the defense is going to respond a lot differently, and I think the offense too. I think our offense has the ability to carry the defense when the defense, is not,
I agree.
At the capacity.
Man,
EGR.
I desperately wanted to talk to you about that last drive against BYU, because I still feel like if that situation presents itself again, Boise State's going to be better, and I think they're going to be better because Taylon Green is their quarterback. And it was supposed to be a very simple completion, a 1:46 to go in the game. It's supposed to be a very simple completion to your tight end to gain 5 yards and just start the offense, right? Yep. There's a drop pass, and you're like, oh, no, that's not good. And then the second play, kind of come back and save it with a nice little screen play to Latrell, holding. Oh, dang it. Okay, so now we're in a really bad spot.
Yep.
My point here, though, is everything on that drive was completely self-inflicted. Yeah. And if Boise State gets into that situation again, I even think that one little experience is just going to make them breathe for a second, and not worry about the pressure or anything like that.
Yeah.
And just realize, hey, even in this situation or scenario, this is just about doing your job one play at a time. And they were trying. It felt like they were just almost just too far ahead of themselves.
Yeah. I think where we are with this team, I think no matter if it comes down with a minute left, we can be down or up. If we're down and the offense has the ball, I feel like we feel good that they can go score.
Yep.
If we're up and we have to stop a team, I feel like
they got a decent chance. I would say another thing about BYU, which I think will be different from any other team that Boise State plays this year, their screen game was super effective. Boise State didn't tackle awesome, but the vertical presence in their offense, those guys throw the ball down the field a ton. And when they dropped a couple of those second half screens in against Boise State, I mean, DBs were 30 yards downfield. I mean, there's just a lot of space to figure out how to somehow get a dude that's running behind 300-pounders.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just a lot of space to figure that out.
It's true. I think the screen game was the smartest play that they could have did because we have a defense who is great at stopping the run.
Yep.
So, you know, they're really aggressive. So getting those guys to get upfield and then just getting right behind them. Now you got your secondary who's already they have guys down the field that they're guarding. So it makes it tough. I think that's the best response to a team that is really good in the run game.
And maybe like a Fresno State with Jake Haener, like maybe these threats will come up again because you worry about Jake Haener throwing a ball 50 yards downfield on you. But the reason why I like going into Nevada, going into Wyoming, Utah State, I'm not really worried about that because I just don't think that any of those teams have the personnel that would push Boise State's defense to the limits like BYU's personnel did.
But just know, those screens are coming for sure.
Eventually, at some point
for the rest of the season, everyone is going to dial in on their screen game because that's how this team has lost.
So Boise State, again, against conference opponents, allowing 193.5 yards per game. If we're just looking at conference games, the number 2 team on that list is Michigan, allowing 250 yards per game. I mean, again, against a light competition, man. All right, we'll move into this final topic here, talking about George Holani. He's got an important decision to make after this year, Shane. What are your thoughts on him either going to the NFL or coming back to college as just somebody that's been in the locker room with dudes that have had to make this decision?
I think his decision is going to come down to 2 things. To stay and go. I think to stay, it's going to be to up his draft stock, along with him seeing what we have in that locker room and what will be returning. I think what will cause him to go would be the load. You know, the hits and everything he's already taken, the injuries he's already had. So it's not like he could go in, you know, come back another year and say, you know, I've always been healthy and, you know, I'm really durable. He already has the question mark of the durability. So that plays a huge role in the decision. But he might see it as, I've had the durability problem, so I want to come back another year and show that I can be.
Right.
So it's going to be a tough decision. And I know those guys in the locker room, you know, some of those young guys are going to want him coming back. And I feel like the older guys probably want him to come back too. But as a fan now, I'm going to say,
ooh,
it's tough. I'm right with him. I think he goes because of the durability factor, and I think he stays because he sees what's still here in the locker room.
You look at what he's done this year: 52 missed tackles forced, tied for 17th most in the FBS. He's averaging 6.3 yards per carry, 12th best amongst that same group of athletes. Boise State's never lost when he's rushed for 100 yards. Perfect 12-0. You want to talk about the key to victory? There you go. Over the last few weeks, since this coaching change, since the quarterback change, George Holani has a rushing grade of 89.7 per Pro Football Focus. That's 7th best amongst the 52 FBS players with 90 or more carries. I mean, this guy is absolutely elite. And I'll say this: you want to talk about Taylen Green effectiveness to the run game and even the offensive line. For whatever reason, first 4 games of the year, George Holani averaged 2.9 yards per carry between the tackles. Since then, he is averaging 8.4 yards per carry between the tackles. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 yards until you get a first down. And on the first carry, George is taking care of 85% of that, 84% of those yards, right? Like,
and even with
insane.
Even with that, we come out throwing the ball down the field.
Yeah.
I like it.
I mean, he's remarkable. And you bring up the usage. Right now, he has 573 career touches. He's on pace for about 80 more this season. That means that he would finish with right around 655 career touches after this season. For perspective, Jeremy McNichols had 702 touches in his career, left for the NFL early. Alexander Madison had about 650 touches in his career, left for the NFL early. Like, when it comes to usage, Holani is at about that mark. And if you're saying, well, I don't know if his production adds up to those guys. Well, he just passed Matt Miller on the all-purpose yards list at Boise State. A little over 3,200, 18th most in Boise State history. Next up on that list, Alexander Madison, 3,417 yards. He probably catches Alexander before the end of the year.
I agree. But I will say this. This is the factor that we have not factored in to George Holani's decision. He's never played, and I don't think any of those other backs have either, with a guy that was just as good as him behind him to alleviate some of those carries.
You're so right.
And some of those hits he'll have to take. So I think that also helps to say if I come back next year and I split carries, but I'm still just as successful and productive, well, I took half the hits because I had another back that could come and spill me, and I showed that I could play the whole season.
I'm just saying, man, that's a best case scenario for a lot of people involved.
Yeah.
We'll see what eventually happens. And again, you know, I asked George Holani this after the game. He was super non-committal. He's super focused on right now, and I expect nothing less. This isn't to spark controversy of what he's going to do or about his decision or sway him one way or the other, but it's a compliment to show like he is absolutely in this discussion of whether he wants to go or stay, and he's been incredible. Really quick, Shane, Wyoming up this week. Cowboys picked to finish 5th in the Mountain Division preseason. They're currently they're 5-1 in league play. Their only loss is to San Jose State on the other side of the Mountain West. What do you make of the Cowboys, and what makes playing them so difficult, especially in Laramie, especially in the middle of November?
Well, obviously the weather, but we just showed that, you know, weather doesn't necessarily stop what we think it would, our pass game. I think the biggest secret weapon they have is their coach. They have a great coach.
They do. Craig Bull's done an awesome job there.
Yeah, I think he does a great job with the culture that he brought in. Obviously, he was successful before he got there. He's did a great job. I mean, he's had guys like Josh Allen come through there. So
nobody gave Josh Allen a chance.
It's
Craig Bull wanted to give Josh Allen a chance.
So it's not like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yep.
I think this could turn into a dogfight. You know, I'm hoping it doesn't. I totally prefer the 41-3 games, but this coach, he will come in with some tricks up his sleeve for sure.
All right. So do you have a prediction? I know Boise State favored by 12 when this line initially opened up, and something says I got to respect Wyoming a little bit more than that. I feel like this is a 10-point game for whatever reason. I think like a 27-17, a 30-20 type of score is.
You have the over/under?
44, I think it was, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
So they're not expecting Wyoming to score a lot of points. Boise State, when it comes to their explosiveness on offense, with Dirk Cutter calling plays, they're averaging like 14.5 plays of 10 or more yards per game. But Wyoming will limit that. Like, if Boise State executes at that level, it's going to be a fantastic offensive night for the Broncos.
Every week since they've taken over,
here we go.
I've been under on my points that I give Boise State. They always score more than I think they
Well, that's because for the first 4 weeks, we were always over.
This is true. So I adjusted, and last week, the over-under was 41, and I took the over, and it went over by 3.
Yeah.
So I'm going 38.
Okay.
To 14.
38-14.
38-14.
Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. Put that in ink. Shane, it's been fun as always. I missed you last week, my friend, but I'm glad you can make it over here. I know you got a busy life.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I know our listeners and viewers do as well. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Jay Sports Bar. For Shane Williams-Rhodes, I'm Jay Tust. Enjoy the Wyoming game, everyone.